has everything to do with anything that you want to attract in your life. Hey everyone, so we're going to talk about what evidence are you really looking for and understanding why the evidence that you are looking for is literally causing you to impact what it is that you really want to create in your life. See, we have lots of wonderful things that are inside of us that give us opportunities for us to master and expand and step into a bigger, greater version of who we are. And if you haven't got over to the potentialzonegroup.com, please get over there now because there's a lot of amazing things going on there. And right now I'm just doing lives on most of my platforms, but in the near future, probably like in the next week or so, I'm only going to be doing the majority of my lives in the potentialzonegroup.com. So get over to the potentialzonegroup.com and join the community, and lots of amazing things going on over there. But I wanted to talk about this thing around evidence because this is so important on so many levels, is because what is it that you're looking for in your life? And this is a great question. In fact, I'd encourage you to get a pen and paper and write down a lot of these questions that I'm asking you, because these are the questions that I use with my clients. These are the questions that I use in my mastermind groups, my students, and it's the quality of your life is a reflection of the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. And great questions literally make you go inside yourself and access different parts of who you are. And these questions are designed to get you to see some things about yourself that possibly are holding you in a place that you would like to move beyond. And the first thing I'd like to ask you is what are you looking for in your life? And just really get honest about that. Like, what are you looking for in your life? Because whatever comes up with that is what you are going to continually find. And in order for us to create a different outcome, we have to understand that the programs that we are running down in our unconscious is the opportunity for us to get real clear about what it is that we want to create. See, most people, and when I say most people, including me, right, have this wonderful thing called an ego, right? And our ego causes some issues when it comes time for us to get really honest with who we are. And what I mean by getting honest with who we are is really being able to look at, like, give ourselves authentic feedback of how we are showing up and what is the things that we're doing that are impacting our ability to move forward. Because this is so important, because you have this wonderful thing called an RAS, which is a reticular activating system. And so, to give you an example of how this works within yourself, is like all of you are driving a particular car, vehicle, whatever it may be, motorcycle. And after you got that and started even looking for it, but once you put it into your awareness that this is what you wanted, once you got it, you started noticing these cars everywhere, right? Now, were the cars there before you got your car? Of course they were, right? But now your reticular activating system is noticing that now you have a personal attachment to that car. Now it notices it everywhere because your unconscious is constantly scanning. What do I pay attention to? What do I pay attention to? So what I would ask you to do, like right now, is pay attention to what I'm saying. And whatever you do, like, listen very closely to what I'm going to ask you to do, because this is part of an exercise to make a point of what it is I'm going to be teaching in this conversation. Whatever you do, with all your willpower, do not think of a blue tree. Right now, of course, you thought of a blue tree because you had to think about what not to think about. And see, your unconscious, subconscious, more of your subconscious, does not make the distinction between what's positive and negative, right? So it's just going to do what it's going to do, right? And so if there are things in your life that you don't want, guess what? This is what you're focusing on. This is where you're putting all your energy. This is why we keep attracting the things that we don't want to attract in our lives, because your subconscious doesn't know how to filter that and think of it, and it creates the energy so that we notice it, right? Like, why do we keep ending up in the same type of relationships? Why do we keep getting into these different patterns and stuff like that? Because they are all here to be the initiation process for that we get to learn the lesson so that we can expand beyond where we are currently at and be able to create and be the person that is required for us to receive what it is that we want to create. So think about it. I mean, 85% of lottery winners file bankruptcy within 5 years, right? Now, why is that? Because their bandwidth of receivability was blown out. It was blown out, right? So they got to get rid of it as quick as they can of what they believe is familiar so that they can go back to the barometer of where their life was before. So when I say barometer is understanding that we all maintain a certain amount of pressure within ourselves. And this is based on a nervous system within. And if we have this barometer gets offset, well, what we're going to do if we don't have the awareness, we're going to keep running within that particular pressure within our lives, right? So this is why knowing what it is that you're looking for and getting really, really intentional about what you want to create is really, really important. So I've been looking for a particular car. Now, guess what? I see these cars. They're like not everywhere because it's a particular car that I'm looking for. And I'm noticing more and more and more of these cars, right? Is because my RS is activated. So let's talk about how we get our RS to design it to give us the results that we want. First thing is that we have a thought, right? All thought creates life. Like every single thing in your life started out with a thought. Like everything in your life that you have right now in this moment is something that you've agreed to, right? And now you might think, well, okay, I didn't agree to a divorce. Okay, for sure, right? But how did that get created? Right? Like, what are the things like you agreed to marry this person, right? Like you agreed to show up in that marriage the way you showed up. And this isn't about blame. This is not what this is about at all. It's just understanding like if we have trust issues, you're talking to somebody that has a PhD in the journey of learning how to trust. And what I found out was like, oh my gosh, this is way different than what I thought it was. If we have trust issues, guess what we're going to do? We're going to constantly be looking for ways to prove that I can't trust somebody, right? We're going to be looking for things to convince ourselves that we trust somebody, but the other person on the other side of it is receiving a message like, you don't trust me. Doesn't matter what I do, you don't trust me, right? So we've got to really take responsibility for how we create our lives, because life doesn't happen to you. It doesn't happen for you. It happens through you, right? Like every single thing, your thoughts are the beginning of everything that happens. So then the thought becomes a belief, right? Now, something you think over and over and over and over, and you don't challenge it or interrupt the process, it ends up becoming a belief. Now, this is something that you begin to access now. This is what I believe. Now, the interesting part about this, how many of your beliefs are second person beliefs or first person beliefs? Difference between a second person belief and a first person belief. Second person is we just took on a belief that somebody else told us to believe about God, about marriage, about relationship, about money, about career, whatever it is. We just took that belief on, and then now our perception is filtered through these different types of beliefs. Well, then what happens is that we add emotion to this. And when we add emotion to it, this is what becomes our RAS, our reticular activating system. And so this is why we start noticing the things that we notice. So understand, I've heard lots of different numbers, but I'll just use a number that I've seen, it's kind of like an average, but you have like 10 million bits of information coming at you every second. 10 million bits of information coming at you every second. So I don't know what that is, like 100 gig, something like that. It's a lot, right? Coming at you every single second. And your subconscious is processing this information. But what happens is our conscious mind cannot process that much. So it breaks it down to like 40 bits of information, from 10 million to 40 bits of information, right? And then it breaks down into 7 chunks. This is why phone numbers are 7 digits long, right? So think about, if I gave you 10 million toothpicks, it would bury you, right? But if I gave you 40, that becomes a lot more handleable, right? But this is why we are not able to see the keys when the keys are lost in front of us, right? Like we look everywhere in the house for the keys and like look everywhere. And then someone in the house comes up and says, they're right here. Like, where did you find those keys? Right? And like, they're right here. And you're like, I looked there, I don't know how many times. The reason you didn't see those keys is because where they were at did not match the image in your head, right? So this is evidence. This is the evidence of what it is that's showing up in our lives. And there is evidence that you're not seeing because of how your subconscious and your reticular activating system is, and just how this is all designed. Because what determines the quality of your life, I would encourage you to write this down, because what I'm about to share with you is literally like the secret of secrets, like the mastery at a level that's massive. What determines the quality of your lives is the script you tell yourself and the images you have in your head, right? Because we're not afraid of what's out there. We are afraid of what is represented within ourselves. right? And if we don't have that awareness, then we are what is running our lives, right? And so when we make goals, this is what's really, really important. And I'm not a big fan of goals, although I still use them. I like intentions because intentions are dynamic, right? And they evolve as I evolve. And so when I set out an intention, I have evidence of what that's going to look like. So if I set an intention of I'm going to 10x my business, what is the evidence that I get to see that validates that that intention was manifested? Like, what is the evidence that's going to make that happen? Right? Like, most people have all these unconscious rules about what a friendship is, right? But they don't know what they are until they get into a friendship, and then they get frustrated, and it's like, well, this person isn't treating me this right, or they should be calling me more, or whatever. But it's based off of the rules that we have within ourselves. So again, what is the evidence of a great friend? Right? What is the evidence of a great relationship? Because we have these things about connection. See, and chemistry, I'm going to blow the lid off on some of you. Chemistry within a relationship is nothing more the chemical release that's based off of the internal programs that we have playing within ourselves. Right? Why do girls attract the bad guys? Right? Because of how they were raised, what they've determined love is, and then when they get that vibration from somebody that is the same vibration that they were familiar with their first love, which was their dad or their mom, right? Understanding that our parents were our first loves. And if we don't have the awareness about that, this is what we are going to attract in. It's called harmonic resonance, right? Two people, like two tuning forks, you hit this tuning fork, this tuning fork is going to take on what this tuning fork started, right? And then they are going to become in harmonic resonance, right? If they are different, they will literally repel each other, right? So this is why we attract what we attract in our lives, because we're unconscious, right? So it's getting very, very clear on what is the evidence that you are looking for, and what is it that you want to create, and what is the evidence of what it is that you want to create. What does that look like? So you know that you are moving in the right direction. Like, what type of relationship do you really want? Right? Friend, significant other, business partner, whatever it is, right? Like, getting really, really clear on this. Now, this is something that brings up something within a lot of people is we don't love, some of us, well, all of us, like certain aspects of certainty. Some of us like uncertainty, right? But the more clear you can get about this, the more powerful it's going to become. The reason most people struggle with being clear is because they don't want to be disappointed. Okay, so here I'm going to share something with you that can really take care of this. The more clear you get, the more powerful it's going to be, the more penetration it's going to have, the more momentum you can create when you know what it is you know that you want to create, right? When it comes to disappointment, the reason you're disappointed isn't the outcome. The reason you're disappointed is because how you communicate with yourself about the outcome, right? This is the scripts that we play inside of our head. We're not afraid of pain from the outside of us. What we are afraid of is how we communicate to ourselves, which causes the pain. Now, friends, understand this is mastery, right? Like, I'm working at this every single day of my life. Like, I had a conversation that I had with somebody today, and there were a lot of things that came up for me, and it gave me the opportunity to really look inside and go, what is this about? Why? What is this resistance about? And then me getting clearer and providing space for myself to really move through that, ended up having an incredible conversation with him. But leading up to this conversation, I mean, it was taking some of my bandwidth. But these are all opportunities for us to figure out what's going on in my internal world, right? The more you're aware of what's going on in your internal world, the more freedom you're going to have. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Right now, that's obviously it's out of the Bible. However, it is really knowing what is your own truth. And the more you can be real with yourself and be neutral, and what I mean by neutral is your ability to be able to give yourself authentic feedback, right? So, what is the evidence of what you want to create? What is the specific evidence that you want to create in your life? What is the career that you want to have? What does success mean to you? What does connection mean to you? What does intimacy mean to you? What does great sex mean to you? Like, we have all these rules about how want things, but we don't really know what the evidence of that is. And the more that you can get clear about the evidence, the more that you can know what you're attracting in your life is aligned with who you really are. Because otherwise, what we are doing is we are projecting how we want somebody to be on them. And we're not seeing them for who they really are. Got a PhD in this one as well, right? I self-proclaimed PhD, meaning I got like crap tons of experience at this. So what's important is you being able to see things as much as clearly as possible based on what they really are rather than what you think they are, right? Because how many times have we gotten in relationships and thought that it was different than what it ends up turning out being, right? But the signs were always there, right? Like car was always there. We didn't see it because of what we were connected to, right? And getting in touch with what one of our biggest fears. One of our biggest fears is being separated from our tribe. So where did we get a lot of our beliefs? A lot of our beliefs came from our tribe, came from our conditioning. And so that means if I start challenging my beliefs, now I'm not talking, this isn't about what to believe, this is about how to believe, right? Like if you start getting more flexible with what you believe and start thinking about different possibilities and doing the research within yourself to make it a first person belief rather than a second person belief, then you start becoming more congruent with who you are. Because see, friends, understand the thing that determines you moving through any threshold, and I call them thresholds, or any gap of what it is that you want to create in your life is 100% contingent upon your ability to trust yourself, right? Like the imposter syndrome is real, and the imposter syndrome always takes on a new level when you exceed the past level. Every time you exceed your comfort zone, you're creating a new comfort zone, right? So the more you understand this process of evolution within yourself and understanding the dynamics between autonomy and oneness, the more you understand this, the more flexibility, more awareness you're going to be and the more adaptability that you're going to have. Without this, right, like the thing that causes more pain in this world than anything else is naivety. People just don't know, right? Like the only thing that they can do is what based on what they can access, and that's been based on their own experience or their own journey or what they read or whatever, right? So the more you can let go of the outcome. So what I mean by let it go of the outcome. So let's say you want to make 10x this year. Okay, let's just say that. I like that number because it's what I put out there this year. You 10x your numbers this year and let go of the outcome. Meaning, what if I only do 8x? What if I do 11x? And what if it shows up differently than the way that I thought it was going to be? Right? Like that's learning to be flexible. But see, our ego does not like to be wrong, right? So this is where you get to learn adaptability. This is where you get to step into letting things unfold the way that they're supposed to unfold. Because I promise you, friends, where I was at last year and where I thought I'd be this year is way, 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 way different. Like this last year was a cleaning season of my life, like the most cleaning year of my life. Like, oh my gosh, just wish you could get inside of my head for just a moment to understand what I'm really saying here. Like a lot of the things that I didn't want to have happen, I would have never signed up for, happened. And because of it, it put me in this place where I was able to understand what is really important for me and really being able to trust who I am in different areas that I didn't believe in, wasn't able to trust myself before. So you want to learn how to trust yourself, start stepping into areas that challenge you, start stepping into areas that are unfamiliar for you, right? Become familiar with the uncomfortable. The more you practice it, the better you become at it, right? So what is an area of your life that you get to stretch? Like, what is a stretch for you? Like, would it be a stretch for you to go in to a Starbucks, and I'm just challenging you, I'm just putting this out there to have some fun, live, like go into Starbucks and just say, excuse me, everybody, may I have your attention? I just wanted to take this opportunity because I just felt it fall upon me. I just want to say to each and every one of you that I think you're amazing. And if somebody hasn't told you that today, I want to be the first one that tells you that you're amazing. And I want each and every one of you to be blessed beyond your wildest imagination. Have a great day. That's be a stretch. See how many of you will do it, right? Like just do stuff like a child has so much fun that they're not caught up in what anybody thinks of them, right? Because they haven't gone through the humiliations yet, right? How we learn to heal the areas of our life that we have been humiliated is stepping back out there, because now you see, and what we experienced in the humiliation is the stories that we created during that event, right? Like I raised my hand when I was in kindergarten and said an answer that was incorrect. Everybody in that class laughed. right? I was humiliated, right? So I created this narrative. I'm not intelligent. Don't ever raise your hand again, whatever. And that has ran my whole life up until just, recently. So now understanding what are your areas, what is the evidence that keeps you from stepping into your greatest self? Because like when you feel yourself having resistance when you're stretching out into the unknown, ask yourself, where have I experienced this before? What is it that's really going on with me? Is this really true? Right? And then where else has it shown up in my life? And if this is true, can I still choose to operate the way that I want to operate regardless of it being true or not? Right? Like you are in control of your life, whether you believe it or not. And again, it's not that we are not resourceful. We get into states that make us believe that we're not resourceful, right? You are badass. Excuse the expression, but you're badass, right? And the more you step into that, see, and I'm just going to share this. A lot of people are like, well, if I start feeling that way about me, people are going to think I'm arrogant. Okay, cool. Someone that's insecure is going to see somebody that's confident. They're going to see them as arrogant. Just understand that, right? This is what it means to be humble. Let's just clear the field, right? Humble is celebrating your value. Being humble is celebrating your value. Like the stuff I do with my clients changes lives, like radically changes lives. So I can stand in this with all my power, be congruent, and have a blast doing it and speak from the heart and make amazing things happen. That's being humble. See, false humility is to say, you're an idiot. What do you think you're doing? That's false humility. That's coming out of your pride, right? So what is the evidence that you need within yourself to believe how freaking amazing you really are, right? Like you can create whatever you want to create, right? And make things happen from your power rather than your wounds. Here's another question. What evidence are you looking for? Are you looking things that confirm that you're going to be hurt? Or are you looking for evidence of what is possible? Like what are opportunities in every single thing that you have in your life, right? Every experience is neutral, my friend. We are the author, we are the authority of how we interpret those experiences, right? So the more intentional you get about what do I want to create? How do I want to show up? What is my beingness, right? These are all opportunities for you to step into a whole other level of who you truly are, right? Because if you're not connected with source, you are source. Like life happens through you. Life happens through you, right? So you are amazing and just really own that, right? And believe in that because there was a time in your life when you were born and somebody looked down at you and if you'd asked that person, what's your worth? They'd have said, 100 being the top value of worth, they'd have said they're worth 100. No questions asked. But as we grew up and we got humiliated, we got picked on, we got teased, and people showed up in ways that they didn't really understand the impact of how they were showing up. And so people did some things to us that victimized us, right? We all have our journey, but see, then what we end up doing is we end up becoming the perpetrator now. And we end up annihilating ourselves for the things that we have done because we got to make sense of how we were treated, right? No, you can let go and change those stories anytime. See, what creates a belief is authority, intensity, and repetition. That's what creates a belief, right? So you are the authority of your life. And you look at the word authority, the word author's in there, right? You are the author, the creator of every single experience. And you get to determine the value of that experience, right? And this is so mission critical for you when you're stepping out into the unknown, because when you're stepping out into the unknown, you're going to access childhood programs, right? If you want to start accessing different programs, practice stepping into the unknown. See, there's two phrases out there. It says, get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Not a big fan of that one because it's a hypocrisy, right? It's a oxymoron, right? It's not hypocrisy, it's an oxymoron. Or get familiar with the unfamiliar. I like to say, get familiar with the uncomfortable. Because the more you allow yourself to become more familiarized with the uncomfortable, you are literally going to alchemize this to be a part of who you are, right? This is all stuff that's in Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read Think and Grow Rich yet, get Think and Grow Rich. And like I've listened to that book probably 300 times. Right? I integrated, immersed it inside of who I am, and it's become a part of my DNA. Another one is Psycho-Cybernetics. Another book, highly, highly recommended, Psycho-Cybernetics. Right? These are books that can really change your mindset and give you the ability to access things within yourself that we all don't know. And every time I read it, it's a different book because I'm a different person now, right? Keep growing, keep stretching, become all that you're meant to be, right? And I'm doing a training coming up that you can access. Like, this is my life's work, and I'm giving away some amazing gifts and making some amazing things available, and you can access that by going to masteringpotential.com, and I'm revealing my life's work in that and making some stuff available that's going to absolutely change countless lives and doing it. Already has, right? So again, check it out. And if you haven't joined the potentializers, become a potentializer by going to the potential zone group.com. That's my Facebook group. Would love to have you over there and be a part of the community and do everything we can to support you on your journey and become a potentializer, right? Friends, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself to make this life the richest experience possible. Right. And we're not going to make it rich life if we keep hanging on to the things that keep us playing small. We've got to get honest with ourselves and really look at, what are my fears? What do I have anxiety about? What are my doubts? What are the things that keep me from stepping forward, and really looking at them and finding out where they came from and getting honest about it. Like, give yourself authentic feedback. Ask other people in your life, like, how do I show up? How do I show up? How do you perceive me? Right. And feedback is just feedback. It's neutral, right? Like, however you interpret that feedback is. Now, if a number of people are giving you the same feedback, well, there might be something there to look at, right? So you getting very intentional about what it is that you want to create. Start looking at the evidence that you support what it is that you want to create. Like, again, what type of relationship you want to be in? What do you want your health to look like? What do you want your spirituality to look like? What do you want your business to look like? What do you want your finances to look like? And the more specific you do, like I tell my clients, I have them write out an ideal day. Powerful exercise. Write out your ideal day. Like, what are you going to do if divine God, whatever that means to you, universe came to you and said, you got 24 hours that I want you to design. And the more details you give me, the more impactful it's going to be. And the caveat is, this is just like Groundhog Day. This is a day you're going to live over and over and over and over. What would that ideal day be? And of course, making money's got to be a part of that, because we got to eat, right? Like, money's energy. We've got to figure out ways for us to generate energy. We can't create energy, we can generate it. So how are you generating energy so that you can stay in higher vibrations in the day that you're going to live over and over and over? Write out your ideal day. You will be blown away at how powerful this is, right? So look, what is the evidence that you are looking for? What are the evidence? What is the evidence that you are looking for? Because this is determining where you're giving your life force. Your life force is your attention and your focus, right? So make sure you're very clear, very intentional about where you put it, okay? So again, I appreciate everybody showing up. Have a great, great rest of the day, and look forward to seeing more opportunities to connect with you. Much love, and as always, my friends, live like your life depends on it, because it does. Be blessed. Take care.